Siberia. The word alone evokes images of pristine wilderness, extreme cold, and vast unexplored territories. For centuries, this enormous region has captured the imagination of explorers, scientists, writers, and adventurers, a land of superlatives and contradictions that defies simple categorization. Covering over 5 million square miles, 13.1 million square kilometers, roughly 77% of Russia's territory, but home to just 36 million people, Siberia represents one of the last great wildernesses on Earth. It stretches from the Ural Mountains in the west to the Pacific Ocean in the east, from the Arctic Ocean in the north to the borders of Kazakhstan, Mongolia, and China in the south. Within this vast expanse lies a diversity of landscapes that staggers the imagination. Endless taiga forests, majestic mountain ranges, crystal-clear lakes, powerful rivers, expansive steppes, and Arctic tundra. Yet, Siberia is far more than simply a natural wonder. It is a land rich in history, from the ancient civilizations that left mysterious petroglyphs on rock faces to the indigenous cultures that developed sophisticated ways of thriving in extreme conditions. It has witnessed the expansion of the Russian Empire, served as a place of exile and punishment, housed secretive Soviet industrial complexes, and today stands at the frontier of resource development and climate change research. For travelers fortunate enough to visit, Siberia offers experiences found nowhere else on Earth. The chance to stand on the shores of Lake Baikal, the world's deepest and oldest lake, to witness the stunning natural beauty of the Altai Mountains, to encounter endangered species like the Siberian tiger, to connect with indigenous cultures maintaining ancient traditions, and to experience cities that blend Russian, Asian, and uniquely Siberian influences. In this exploration, we will journey across this remarkable land, uncovering its natural wonders, delving into its rich history and diverse cultures, visiting its dynamic cities, and confronting the challenges and opportunities that shape its future. Whether you're an armchair traveler dreaming of distant places or planning your own Siberian adventure, prepare to discover a region where beauty, mystery, and extremes combine to create one of Earth's most extraordinary destinations. Welcome to Siberia, land of endless wonder. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming videos on the American Southwest's most incredible hidden treasures. No exploration of Siberia's natural wonders can begin anywhere but Lake Baikal, a place so extraordinary it seems to belong to another world. Called the Sacred Sea by locals, Baikal holds records that seem impossible. The world's deepest lake at 1,642 meters, 5,287 feet. The oldest lake on Earth at 25-30 million years. The clearest freshwater on the planet with visibility reaching 40 meters, 230 feet in some areas. And the largest freshwater lake by volume, containing approximately 20% of the world's unfrozen surface freshwater, enough to supply the entire human population with drinking water for 50 years. But statistics alone cannot capture Baikal's majesty. Nestled among mountains in southern Siberia near the Mongolian border, the lake stretches 636 kilometers, 395 miles, from southwest to northeast, resembling a massive blue crescent embraced by forested slopes and dramatic cliffs. In summer, its waters shine with a sapphire brilliance that must be seen to be believed, so clear that boats seem to float on air rather than water. In winter, the lake transforms as a meter-thick sheet of transparent ice creates what locals call Baikal's glass. Ice so clear that fish can be seen swimming several meters below. The lake's extraordinary age and isolation have created a unique ecosystem that scientists often compare to the Galapagos Islands. Of the more than 2,500 plant and animal species identified in and around the lake, over 80% exist nowhere else on Earth. This includes the lake's most famous resident, the Nerpa or Baikal seal, the world's only exclusively freshwater seal species, whose presence remains something of a biological mystery, as the nearest ocean lies thousands of kilometers away. Beneath the surface, strange and beautiful life forms have evolved to fill every ecological niche. The Golomyanka, Baikal oilfish, a pink, largely translucent fish, contains so much oil it will literally melt in the sun. Massive deep-water sponges filter the lake's pristine waters. Unique crustaceans and flatworms inhabit the deepest parts of the lake, thriving under pressure that would crush ordinary organisms. The shoreline offers equal wonders. Accessible sections like Listvianka village provide easy entry points for visitors, while remote areas like the Sviatoy Nos Peninsula remain virtually untouched. The western shores Pribaikalski National Park protects spectacular coastal scenery, while the eastern shores Zabaikalski National Park encompasses the famous Shiverkui Bay with its geothermal springs where bathers can simultaneously touch 2-Degaiting lake water and 45-Degranlaki hot spring water. Perhaps the most famous single location on Baikal is Olkhon Island, the largest island in the lake, and a place of profound spiritual significance for local Buryat people who consider it the dwelling place of deities. The island features sweeping grasslands, sheltered bays, dramatic white marble cliffs at Sagan Kushan Cape, and the iconic Shamanka Rock, a sacred site believed to house the lake's guardian spirit. Shamanic prayer flags called surge flutter in the wind around sacred sites, while Buddhist prayer flags adorn other locations, demonstrating the rich cultural tapestry surrounding the lake. The Circum-Baikal Railway, built as part of the original Trans-Siberian route, hugs the southwestern shore through 39 tunnels and over countless bridges and viaducts, an engineering marvel offering arguably the most scenic train journey in all Russia. For the more adventurous, the Great Baikal Trail, Russia's first long-distance hiking trail, is gradually being expanded around the entire lake, providing access to otherwise unreachable wilderness. For all its recognized value, UNESCO declared it a World Heritage Site in 1996, Baikal faces significant threats. Pollution from paper mills operated for decades on its shores, though the most notorious plant at Baikalsk finally closed in 2013. Tourism brings economic benefits, but also challenges in waste management and development pressure. Climate change is altering the lake's freeze and thaw cycles and affecting its unique ecosystem. Yet, despite these challenges, Lake Baikal remains one of Earth's most magnificent natural treasures. A place where the water is so pure that locals claim it has healing properties, where the air carries a distinctive scent of resins from surrounding taiga forests, where winter ice sings and groans as it shifts and cracks in patterns so complex that indigenous people say the lake is speaking. Those fortunate enough to visit invariably describe a sense of connection to something ancient and profound, a feeling that transcends simple scenic beauty to touch something deeper about our relationship with the natural world. For many Russians, Baikal is not just a lake, but a sacred symbol of Siberia itself, pure, powerful, mysterious, and ultimately beyond full human comprehension. In southwestern Siberia, where Russia meets Kazakhstan, China, and Mongolia, rises one of the most spectacular yet still relatively unknown mountain ranges on Earth, the Altai. Often called the Siberian Alps, these mountains combine snow-capped peaks, glacial lakes of impossible blue, alpine meadows exploding with wildflowers, ancient forests, and deep valleys to create landscapes of breathtaking beauty. The name Altai derives from the Mongolian word for gold mountains, a reference both to the mineral deposits found here and to the way evening sunlight bathes the peaks in golden hues. The range extends approximately 2,000 kilometers across international borders and reaches its highest point at Mount Belukha, 4,506 meters, 14,783 feet. A twin-peaked massif whose permanent glaciers feed crystal-clear rivers below. The Altai's biological significance cannot be overstated. As a meeting point of Siberian taiga forest, Mongolian steppe, and Central Asian desert ecosystems, the region hosts remarkable biodiversity with over 1,500 plant species, many endemic to the area. Wildlife includes snow leopards, Argali mountain sheep with their massive curved horns, Siberian ibex, wolves, bears, and reintroduced populations of Persian leopard. The mountains also hold immense archaeological importance. The Altai's permafrost has preserved remarkable finds, including the 2,500-year-old ice maiden discovered in 1993, a tattooed woman buried with 6 horses in elaborate regalia, offering unprecedented insights into ancient Pazyryk culture. The Ukok Plateau, where she was found, remains a place of spiritual significance for indigenous Altaians, who fought for the return of the Ice Maiden from scientific institutions to her homeland. Indeed, the Altai has been considered sacred by numerous peoples throughout history. Ancient Turkic stone monuments known as balbals dot the landscape, while mysterious petroglyphs depicting hunt scenes, solar symbols, and shamanic practices cover rock faces throughout the region. For followers of Russian mystical philosopher Nicholas Roerich, the Altai holds special significance as the possible location of the mythical Shambhala, or White Waters, a spiritual center of immense energy. For visitors, several areas offer relatively accessible entry points to this magnificent region. Shamal and the Katun River Valley feature dramatic riverside scenery, suspension bridges, and the small but striking Patmos Island with its wooden church perched above rushing waters. The turquoise Katun River carves a spectacular path through forested mountains, offering rafting opportunities from gentle family floats to challenging whitewater. Lake Teletskoye, often called Little Baikal, stretches 78 kilometers through mountains that plunge directly into its deep, clear waters. Surrounded by the Altai Nature Reserve, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the lake features numerous waterfalls cascading from surrounding peaks, including the 160-meter Korbu Falls. Dense cedar forests reach the shoreline, creating habitat for bears, wolves, lynx, and the endangered snow leopard. The Chuya Highway, M52, ranks among the world's most scenic drives as it winds through the heart of the Russian Altai. Passing through the dramatic Chika-Taman Pass and alongside the Emerald Katun and Milky Blue Chuya rivers, the road offers spectacular mountain vistas at every turn. Roadside attractions include ancient Scythian burial mounds, Kalbaktash, petroglyph site with thousands of rock carvings, and views of the snow-capped North Chuya and South Chuya ranges. The Ukok Plateau, a remote high-altitude grassland on the border with Mongolia, China, and Kazakhstan, represents one of Eurasia's most unspoiled landscapes. This UNESCO World Heritage Site combines archaeological significance with spectacular beauty. Alpine meadows stretching to distant peaks, crystal lakes reflecting perfect skies, and a sense of profound remoteness. Access requires serious off-road capability and permission for the border zone. Mount Belukha, the highest peak in Siberia, draws mountaineers seeking technical climbs and spiritual seekers drawn to its mystical reputation. Even for non-climbers, the approach through the Akham Valley offers extraordinary scenery, culminating in views of Belukha's twin peaks reflected in Akham Lake, one of Siberia's most photographed vistas. The indigenous Altaian people maintain distinctive cultural traditions throughout the region, including throat singing, epic storytelling traditions, and shamanic practices that connect with natural features they consider sacred. visitors should approach cultural sites with appropriate respect. While tourism infrastructure remains less developed than in comparable mountain regions worldwide, this relative isolation has preserved the Altai's pristine character. Basic accommodations range from simple guest houses to yurt camps and wilderness lodges, with Gorno-Altaisk serving as the regional gateway. Climate change poses significant threats as glaciers retreat and permafrost thaws, potentially damaging archaeological treasures frozen for millennia. Development pressures, including controversial hydroelectric projects and a proposed gas pipeline to China, have faced resistance from environmental groups and indigenous communities. Yet, for now, the Altai remains one of Earth's great mountain wilderness areas, a place where adventure travelers can experience landscapes of extraordinary beauty without the crowds found in more famous ranges. Those who make the journey find themselves in a land where natural splendor, ancient history, and living indigenous cultures combine to create an experience like nowhere else in Siberia. The Siberian taiga, Earth's green lung. Covering approximately 5.1 million square kilometers, 2 million square miles, the Siberian taiga represents Earth's largest forest and one of its most important ecosystems. This vast ocean of trees stretches nearly unbroken across Siberia, forming the largest part of the boreal forest belt that encircles the northern hemisphere. To grasp its scale, the Siberian taiga alone is larger than the continental United States and comprises roughly 25% of the world's total forest cover. Unlike tropical rainforests with their dizzying diversity of tree species, the taiga achieves its grandeur through magnificent monotony. Endless stands of evergreen conifers adapted to survive Siberia's harsh conditions. The dominant species include Siberian larch with its unusual deciduous character, shedding needles in winter despite being a conifer, Siberian pine with nutritious nuts prized by humans and wildlife alike, Siberian spruce and fir standing tall and straight, and in western regions, Scots pine with reddish bark that glows warmly in evening light. The taiga's apparent simplicity in composition belies its complexity as an ecosystem. These forests grow on generally poor, acidic soils and experience temperature variations that would kill most tree species. Winter temperatures routinely plunge below 40 degrees Celsius, while summer can bring heat above 30 degrees Celsius, a range of over 70 degrees Celsius that requires remarkable adaptations. The forests regulate this harsh environment, creating their own microclimate beneath the canopy where specialized plants, fungi, insects, and animals thrive. Wildlife in the taiga has evolved strategies to survive the extreme seasonal cycles. The iconic species include the Siberian tiger, the largest cat in the world, which clings to existence in the far eastern regions. Brown bears that feast on berries and pine nuts in summer before hibernating through the brutal winter. Sables whose luxurious fur once drove the Russian expansion into Siberia. Wolves that travel in packs across vast territories. Moose that browse on willow and birch. And reindeer, caribou, whose migrations represent one of the great wildlife spectacles of the north. Bird life shows similar adaptations. Capercaillies, massive grouse that perform elaborate mating displays, feed on conifer needles that would be toxic to most birds. Nutcrackers form a crucial relationship with Siberian pine, extracting seeds from cones and inadvertently planting new trees when they forget cached seeds. Three-toed woodpeckers excavate beetle larvae from dying trees, while tiny winter-hardy birds like coal tits, bullfinches, and crossbills remain active even in the coldest months. The significance of the taiga extends far beyond its borders. These forests serve as one of Earth's most important carbon sinks, currently storing an estimated 139 billion tons of carbon. They produce vast quantities of oxygen through photosynthesis, hence the nickname, Earth's green lung. The forests help regulate global climate patterns, mosquitoes and protect permafrost from thawing. Rivers flowing through the taiga carry nutrients that eventually support marine ecosystems in the Arctic Ocean. For human visitors, the taiga offers a distinctive experience unlike other forest types. In summer, sunlight filters through tall trunks to illuminate carpets of berries, mushrooms, and wildflowers on the forest floor. The distinctive, spicy, resinous scent of conifers permeates the air. Mosquitoes and other insects can form clouds so dense they become a serious consideration for summer travelers. In winter, the forest transforms into a silent, snow-draped wonderland where meter-deep snow covers the ground and ice crystals hang in the air on the coldest days. Several protected areas offer accessible yet authentic taiga experiences. Stolby Nature Reserve near Krasnoyarsk features dramatic rock formations rising from taiga forest, with well-maintained trails suitable for day hikers seeking a taste of Siberian wilderness. The Great Vasyugan Swamp, the largest swamp system in the northern hemisphere, presents a variation on classic taiga with waterlogged forests and bogs creating habitat for countless birds and unusual plant communities. Hutarana Plateau in northern Siberia offers perhaps the most dramatic taiga landscapes, with forests climbing the flanks of flat-topped mountains cut by countless waterfalls and deep canyons. A UNESCO World Heritage Site that remains challenging to access but rewards visitors with true wilderness. The Siberian taiga faces significant threats, particularly from climate change, which is shifting fire regimes toward more frequent and intense burns that the ecosystem may not be adapted to recover from. Industrial logging, often conducted with little regard for sustainability, continues to fragment habitat. Mining, oil, and gas development create pollution that affects forest health. Yet the sheer scale of the taiga means large areas remain intact and pristine. For visitors willing to venture beyond easily accessible areas, it's still possible to experience taiga wilderness that has changed little since the last ice age. Places where human trails are outnumbered by animal tracks, where the rhythms of nature continue undisturbed, and where the forest stretches to horizons so distant they blur into the sky. To stand in the depths of the Siberian taiga is to experience a profound sense of the primeval, a connection to something ancient and enduring that puts human concerns into perspective. As one Russian saying aptly notes, in the taiga, you never feel alone, and yet you understand true solitude.
Kamchatka, land of fire and ice. On Russia's far eastern edge lies what many consider Earth's last great untamed wilderness, the Kamchatka Peninsula. This remote finger of land stretching 1,250 kilometers, 780 miles, into the Pacific Ocean, combines so many natural wonders that it seems almost fictional, a place where snow-capped volcanoes rise above pristine beaches, where brown bears fish for salmon in rivers teeming with life, where geysers erupt amid fields of wildflowers, and where indigenous cultures maintain deep connections to this extraordinary landscape. Kamchatka's defining feature is undoubtedly its volcanic character. The peninsula forms part of the Pacific Ring of Fire and hosts approximately 160 volcanoes, 29 of which remain active. The most spectacular include Kluchevskaya Sopka, 4,150 meters, 15,584 feet, Eurasia's tallest active volcano, a nearly perfect cone that regularly sends spectacular ash plumes skyward. Kronotsky, 3,528 meters, 11,575 feet, perhaps the most perfectly symmetrical of Kamchatka's volcanoes, rising in isolated splendor within the boundaries of Kronotsky Nature Reserve. Tolbachik, which produced one of the century's most remarkable eruptions in 1975-76, creating the Dead Forest, a haunting landscape of ash-killed trees that remains largely unchanged decades later. Karimsky, one of the peninsula's most active volcanoes, which frequently sends up ash plumes visible for hundreds of kilometers. Mutnovsky, where visitors can hike directly into the crater to witness bubbling mud pots, fumaroles, and steaming vents, one of the most accessible active volcanic experiences on Earth. This volcanic activity creates other geothermal wonders. The Valley of Geysers, discovered only in 1941 and accessible solely by helicopter, features over 90 geysers, hot springs, and mud pots concentrated in a 6 kilometers valley. Despite being partially filled by a massive landslide in 2007, it remains the second largest geyser field on Earth after Yellowstone. Numerous hot springs dot the peninsula, including natural pools at Paratunka where visitors can soak in mineral-rich waters while surrounded by snow in winter. The peninsula's isolation, no roads connect it to the mainland, and many areas remain accessible only by helicopter or off-road vehicles, has preserved ecosystems of extraordinary richness. Rivers like the Zhupanova, Bystraya, and Kamchatka teem with multiple salmon species whose annual runs support one of the highest concentrations of brown bears on Earth. Up to 10,000 bears inhabit the peninsula, growing to enormous size on a diet rich in fish. Marine ecosystems show equal abundance. The nutrient-rich waters where the Sea of Okhotsk meets the Pacific Ocean support diverse whale species, including gray, minke, sperm, and occasional blue whales. Stellar sea lions and harbor seals haul out on rocky shores. Sea otters, once hunted nearly to extinction for their luxurious fur, float on their backs in coastal kelp forests, using rocks to crack open shellfish. The Commander Islands, an administrative part of Kamchatka, host millions of seabirds in spectacular colonies. For visitors, several areas offer particularly remarkable experiences. Kronotsky Nature Reserve, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, encompasses volcanoes, the Valley of Geysers, Lake Kronotsky with its island populations of Arctic char, and coastal areas where bears gather to feed. Access is strictly controlled, with visitor numbers limited to protect the pristine environment. Kluchevskoye Nature Park protects a cluster of massive volcanoes including the peninsula's highest peaks. More accessible than Kronotsky, it offers trekking opportunities among active volcanoes and ash fields. Nalichevo Nature Park, relatively accessible from the capital city Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky, features hot springs set in a valley surrounded by 5 volcanoes, with excellent opportunities for wildlife viewing. South Kamchatka Sanctuary protects the southernmost portions of the peninsula, including the massive Kuril Lake, site of one of the world's greatest concentrations of brown bears during salmon spawning season, when dozens can be seen fishing simultaneously. Indigenous cultures add human dimension to this natural wonderland. The Itelmen, Koryak, Even, and Ainu peoples developed sophisticated adaptations to Kamchatka's challenging environment over thousands of years. Though their numbers diminished following Russian colonization beginning in the 17th century, efforts to preserve and revitalize traditional practices continue today. Visitors can experience elements of these cultures through museums in Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky, cultural performances featuring traditional dancing, and in some cases, visits to indigenous communities. Given its remote location and limited infrastructure, Kamchatka presents significant travel challenges. Most visitors arrive via flights to Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky, a city dramatically situated on a bay surrounded by volcanoes. Accommodations range from comfortable hotels in the capital to basic wilderness lodges and tented camps in remote areas. Many of the peninsula's most spectacular locations require helicopter transport, making Kamchatka one of the more expensive destinations in Russia. The Soviet military history of Kamchatka adds another layer of complexity. As a strategic location during the Cold War, large portions were closed to visitors until the 1990s, and some restrictions remain in border areas. The formerly secret submarine base at Vilyuchinsk across the bay from Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky serves as a reminder of this military significance. Climate change and resource development pose threats to Kamchatka's pristine character. Warming temperatures affect salmon runs and bear populations, while offshore oil exploration creates risk of spills that could devastate coastal ecosystems. A major pollution incident in 2020 killed nearly all marine life along several kilometers of coast, with the cause still disputed. Yet despite these challenges, Kamchatka remains one of Earth's great wilderness treasures, a place where natural processes continue largely unimpeded by human activity, where ecosystem functions remain intact, and where visitors can experience landscapes that seem to belong to Earth's primeval past. Those fortunate enough to visit often describe it as utterly transformative, a place that fundamentally changes one's perspective on humanity's relationship with the natural world. The Arctic coast, where Siberia meets the Polar Sea. Stretching for more than 13,000 kilometers, 8,000 miles, Siberia's Arctic coastline represents one of Earth's most remote and challenging environments, a place where land, sea, and ice create landscapes of austere beauty and surprising ecological richness. From the Kara Sea west of the Yamal Peninsula to the Bering Strait that separates Russia from Alaska, this vast shore witnesses extraordinary seasonal transformations as it cycles through periods of 24-hour darkness, perpetual daylight, solid ice cover, and brief but intense summer productivity. The Arctic coast is characterized by tundra meeting sea, a treeless landscape where permafrost prevents deep root growth, creating a unique ecosystem dominated by mosses, lichens, low-growing shrubs, and seasonal wildflowers. During the brief summer when temperatures rise above freezing and the sun never sets, the coastal tundra erupts in a surprising flush of life and color. Carpets of cotton grass wave in the constant winds, while saxifrage, Arctic poppy, forget-me-nots, and dozens of other flowering plants create patches of vibrant color against the otherwise subdued palette. This seasonal abundance supports remarkable wildlife migrations. Millions of birds arrive from as far away as Antarctica, Africa, and Australia to breed during the short Arctic summer. Vast flocks of geese, ducks, shorebirds, and songbirds fill the coastal wetlands and tundra, taking advantage of limitless daylight and abundant insects to raise their young before the rapid return of cold weather forces their southward retreat. Marine mammals define much of the coastal ecosystem. Ringed and bearded seals haul out on ice floes and shorelines. Massive walruses with their distinctive tusks gather in noisy rookeries where available. Several whale species, including the narwhal with its unicorn-like tusk and the ghostly white beluga, feed in coastal waters during ice-free months. Most iconic is the polar bear, the world's largest land predator, which hunts seals from the sea ice and increasingly visits shore as climate change alters its traditional hunting grounds. The human history of this harsh coast reveals extraordinary adaptations. Indigenous peoples including the Nenets, Nganasan, Evenki, Chukchi, and Yupik developed cultures perfectly attuned to Arctic conditions. Using materials available in this sparse environment, primarily animal hides, bones, and driftwood, they created sophisticated technology for hunting, fishing, transportation, and shelter that allowed them to thrive where most outsiders perished. Today, many communities continue traditional practices like reindeer herding while incorporating elements of modern technology. Several regions along this vast coastline offer particularly notable features. The Yamal Peninsula extends like a slender finger into the Kara Sea in western Siberia. Its name means end of the land in the language of the indigenous Nenets people, who maintain one of the world's last great nomadic reindeer herding cultures here. Despite significant oil and gas development in recent decades, thousands of Nenets continue to migrate annually across the peninsula, with herds numbering up to 10,000 animals. Recent years have seen mysterious phenomena here, including the formation of explosive methane craters as permafrost thaws. The Taimyr Peninsula represents the northernmost extension of the Eurasian landmass, jutting into the Laptov Sea. This harsh landscape serves as the last stronghold of the wild reindeer of the tundra, with herds numbering approximately 500,000 animals, the largest population of wild rangifer in Eurasia. The peninsula also hosts the remote but fascinating Putarana Plateau to its south, a UNESCO World Heritage Site of flat-topped mountains, countless waterfalls, and pristine lakes. The New Siberian Islands and other Arctic archipelagos stretch across the northern horizon, most abandoned after Soviet-era weather stations and military installations closed following the USSR's collapse. These remote islands hold extraordinary paleontological significance as places where permafrost has preserved remains of woolly mammoths, woolly rhinoceros, and other Ice Age fauna. Coastal erosion continues to expose ancient bones, tusks, and occasionally intact frozen carcasses thousands of years old. The Chukchi Peninsula forms Russia's easternmost extremity, reaching toward Alaska across the narrow Bering Strait. The indigenous Chukchi people maintained their independence longer than any other Siberian group, resisting Russian control until the late 19th century. Today, the region offers some of the most accessible Arctic coastal experiences, with the town of Providenia sometimes serving as a port of call for expedition cruises through the Northern Sea Route or Northwest Passage. Wrangel Island, located in the Arctic Ocean north of the Chukchi Peninsula, holds special ecological significance as the last place on Earth where woolly mammoths survived, with a dwarf population persisting until approximately 4,000 years ago, long after mainland populations disappeared. Today, the island hosts the highest density of ancestral polar bear dens in the world and the largest Pacific walrus haulout. Its extraordinary biodiversity earned it designation as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, though it remains extremely difficult to visit. Climate change is transforming this coast more rapidly than perhaps any other region on Earth. Arctic temperatures are rising at more than twice the global average rate, causing sea ice extent to diminish dramatically. This affects everything from polar bear hunting grounds to indigenous travel routes across ice to coastal erosion patterns. Some Siberian Arctic communities already face relocation as thawing permafrost destabilizes buildings and erosion consumes coastlines. For travelers, the Siberian Arctic coast presents extreme challenges but extraordinary rewards. Most visitors access the region either via expedition cruise vessels traversing the Northern Sea Route during the brief ice-free window, or through specialized tours to specific locations like Wrangel Island or Yamal Peninsula. Infrastructure remains minimal, weather conditions can change drastically with little warning, and costs are high due to remoteness and logistical complexity. Those who overcome these obstacles encounter landscapes of haunting beauty, midnight suns casting golden light across tundra for weeks in summer, massive icebergs drifting silently offshore, horizons so vast and empty they challenge human comprehension, and wildlife behaving as it has for millennia in an environment largely untouched by direct human alteration. Here, perhaps more than anywhere else in Siberia, visitors confront both the extraordinary resilience and the vulnerability of our planet's natural systems. The Lena Pillars, stone sentinels of the permafrost. Rising dramatically from the banks of the mighty Lena River in the heart of the Sakha Republic, Yakutia, the Lena Pillars present one of Siberia's most unusual and spectacular landscapes. These extraordinary limestone formations, reaching heights up to 100 meters, 328 feet, stretch for over 40 kilometers, 25 miles, along the riverbank, creating a natural architecture so striking it earned UNESCO World Heritage status in 2012. Formed approximately 500 million years ago as sediments on an ancient seafloor, these rocks were gradually lifted and then sculpted over millennia by the extreme freeze-thaw cycles of the Siberian climate. Winter temperatures in this region regularly plunge below 50 degrees, 58 degrees, causing water in rock cracks to freeze and expand, gradually splitting the stone. Summer thaws then allow loosened material to fall away. Through countless iterations of this process, solid limestone cliffs have been transformed into a forest of stone columns, towers, arches, and spires that seem almost artificial in their complexity. The pillars aren't merely a scenic wonder, but contain important scientific information. Embedded within these ancient rocks are fossil records of the Cambrian explosion, the relatively sudden appearance of most major animal groups in the fossil record approximately 540 million years ago. Scientists studying these formations have uncovered extinct species that help explain crucial developments in Earth's biological history. For visitors approaching by boat along the Lena River, the only practical way to reach the site, the pillars appear suddenly around a bend, soaring vertically from the water's edge, with no gradual buildup to prepare the eye. The visual impact is heightened by reflection in the river's surface, creating a mirrored double image when waters are calm. The most spectacular section, known as the Sinyaya, blue pillars, features the highest concentrations of towering formations. Particularly in evening light when the limestone takes on a golden hue against deep blue summer skies, the scene possesses an almost mystical quality that has contributed to the site's spiritual significance for indigenous Yakut people. Beyond their geological importance, the pillars support unique ecological communities. Thin soils that accumulate on ledges and in crevices nurture hardy plants adapted to the extreme conditions, including rare orchid species. The cliffs provide nesting habitat for peregrine falcons, gerfalcons, and other birds. The surrounding forests harbor typical taiga species, including bear, moose, and the iconic Siberian musk deer valued in traditional Asian medicine for the musk glands of males. The pillars represent just one section of the broader Lena River system, Siberia's third longest river after the Yenisei and Ob. Flowing north for 4,472 kilometers, 2,779 miles, from its headwaters near Lake Baikal to its massive delta on the Laptov Sea, the Lena remains one of Russia's few major rivers undammed throughout its length. This free-flowing character has preserved natural processes and created one of the world's largest river deltas, an area of 32,000 square kilometers, 12,355 square miles, comprising a complex maze of channels, islands, and wetlands that supports extraordinary biodiversity. For travelers, reaching the Lena Pillars requires determination and planning. Most visitors arrange boat transportation from Yakutsk, the capital of the Sakha Republic and the world's largest city built on continuous permafrost. The journey takes approximately 3-4 hours upstream by fast boat, with most tours including hiking opportunities at the site and meals featuring traditional Yakut cuisine like stroganina, frozen raw fish sliced thin, and various preparations of horse meat, the traditional protein staple in this region. The best time to visit falls between June and early September when the river is fully navigable and temperatures are moderate, though moderate in this extraordinary continental climate can still mean swings from cool nights around 5 degrees Celsius, 41 degrees Celsius, to hot days reaching 30 degrees Celsius, 86 degrees Celsius. Winter visits are possible for the truly adventurous, with the pillars taking on an entirely different character when encased in ice and snow, but temperatures routinely reaching 40 degrees Celsius to 50 degrees Celsius, 40 degrees Celsius to 58 degrees create genuine safety concerns. As climate change accelerates permafrost thaw throughout the region, the Lena Pillars face new threats. Changes in freeze-thaw patterns could accelerate erosion beyond natural rates, while thawing ground can destabilize entire sections of cliff. Scientists monitor these processes carefully, recognizing that these stone sentinels that have stood for millennia may be entering a period of more rapid change.